YouTube, in today's video, we're going to be going over the Virtue and Valor Wilds of Eldraine commander deck. The purpose of today's video is to break down all the cards in this commander deck specifically so that beginners to Magic the Gathering can know whether this deck is worth purchasing or not. Be aware that every 10,000 subscribers this channel gets, I'm going to be giving away an entire sleeved commander deck. If you would like the opportunity, or you would like one of your friends to have the opportunity to win a commander deck, make sure that you're subscribed and that you tell your friends to subscribe as well. I'm also going to be giving away 2 tickets to Magic Con in Las Vegas, Nevada. Wizards of the Coast has sent me a content creator pass for me to go to the show, and they also sent me 2 free tickets to the show. So if anyone out there would like to go, you can email me at coachgonzalezprofessional@gmail.com and we can talk about getting you those free tickets. Alright, so the first thing we always got to do is go over the commander. Just so you're aware, guys, we're going to be going over all the brand new cards inside the set first, and then we're going to be going over the reprints. And the commander for this deck is Ellivere of the Wild Court. 4 mana legendary creature, human knight. Reads, whenever Ellivere of the Wild Court enters the battlefield or attacks, create a virtuous roll token attached to another target creature you control. It just says virtuous roll token. What does that mean? Roll tokens are essentially enchantments that buff creatures you control. A virtuous roll will give a creature you control +1/+1 for each enchantment you control, which is actually incredibly powerful. These rolls, however, once another roll is attached to that creature, the other roll that was previously on the creature is then sacrificed. So you can't have more than one roll on a creature at a time to kind of balance how powerful that mechanic is. It also says whenever an enchanted creature you control does combat damage to a player, draw a card, which is always generically something that is good. Looking at the art on this card, all the little creatures everywhere, I would think that this deck, because you're creating or giving out virtuous roll tokens, you're probably going to have a ton of creatures that you're just going to be passing these enchantments over to so that you don't have to dump your rolls into the graveyard. The second commander in the deck is Eldraine Casting Director. Says whenever Eldraine Casting Director or another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose 1. Create a royal roll token attached to that creature. Create a sorcerer roll token attached to that creature. Create a monster roll token attached to that creature. So like I just got done saying, we're gonna have a lot of creatures probably inside this deck. Feels like a token deck already, and just being able to hand out roll tokens as creatures enter the battlefield, this seems like a good card. Seems fun. We have a knick-knack Oofy. It says the Oofy enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. Just so you guys know, that X is referring to that X next to the green mana on the top right of the card, which means that you can pay any amount of mana for X, and the Oof will enter the battlefield with that many +1/+1 counters. When Knick-Knack Oofy enters the battlefield, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of aura cards with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Then put all cards revealed this way that weren't put on the battlefield on the bottom of your library in a random order. Yeah, I mean, if you could figure out a way to stack the top of your library and just to constantly get a bunch of auras, this would be pretty good. I feel like this is a card that you play after a board wipe, so you can immediately have a strong board presence. We have Giant Inheritance. Enchanted creature gets +5/+5 and has whenever this creature attacks, create a monster roll token attached to up to 1 target attacking creature. So monster rolls give +1/+1 and trample. It says whenever Giant Inheritance is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return to its owner's hand. That's actually pretty good. I mean, whenever we're talking about cards that when it's supposed to go to the graveyard, it goes back to your hand, you know, you could play with some synergies where, you know, you always are going to have a 6/6 creature with trample essentially whenever you play that card. But also, I think if you have cards that draw you cards as enchantments enter the battlefield, you could be like 5 mana. If I have 2 of those cards in the battlefield, I draw 2 cards every time I cast this. So I can turn it into a thing where I'm just consistently drawing cards off of casting this card over and over again. For 5 mana, that is a lot of mana to be drawing 2 cards, but I mean, it's something in the moment. Liberated Livestock. When Liberated Livestock dies, create a 1/1 white cat creature token with lifelink, a 1/1 white bird creature token with flying, and a 2/4 white ox creature token. For each of those tokens, you may put an aura card from your hand and or graveyard onto the battlefield attached to it. Oh my god. That's so many words. So literally what we were just talking about earlier, this is a creature that when it dies, creates a whole bunch of other creatures. This deck just wants to play a ton of creatures. It's good in this deck. I probably wouldn't play anywhere else. We have the Ox Drover Vigilance. Ox Drover can't be blocked by Oxen. Okay. Whenever Ox Drover enters the battlefield or attacks, target opponent creates a 2/4 white Ox creature token and you draw a card. Oh, so you're going to be creating those Ox tokens whenever you attack, and you're going to be drawing cards. I mean, yeah, that's a card. It does things. This is a fun card. I don't know. This just seems like a fun card. It feels like a card you play in a deck where you want your opponents to be attacking each other a lot. In a goad kind of commander deck. Loamcrafter Fawn. When Loamcrafter Fawn enters the battlefield, you may discard one or more land cards. When you do, return up to that many target non-land permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. Cool, so you want to get a creature back? It's there. You want to get some enchantments back? You got that. Planeswalkers, you got that. It's cool. I mean, if you can figure out ways to link this and then have it re-enter the battlefield and then use the ability again later on, it's cool. For 3 mana, it's not bad. I would just rather play Eternal Witness. Songbird's Blessing. Enchant creature. Whenever enchanted creature attacks, reveal cards on the top of your library until you reveal an aura card. You may put that card onto the battlefield. If you don't, put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I mean, this is a really good way to get auras. And imagine making copies of this, and then you have like 2 copies or 3 copies of Songbird's Blessing, getting 3 auras onto the battlefield every time you attack. Yeah, this seems like a really good card. I really like this card. All right, so now we're gonna be going over the rest of the cards in this commander deck. Yo, 39 lands. That's a lot of lands for this deck. I would take out 3 of the lands already and have 36 lands instead of 39. We have Ajani's Chosen. Whenever enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white cat creature token. If that enchantment is an aura, you may attach it to the token. So yeah, this is just a good creature that's going to give you creatures as creatures enter the battlefield, or enchantments enter the battlefield, I should actually say. And it's just a good card to put a ton of creatures into play. It's good in here. Archon of Sun's Grace. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/2 white Pegasus. You know, it also gives your Pegasus lifelink, which is cool. We have the Aura Gnarlid. The Aura Gnarlid says that creatures with power less than the Gnarlid's power can't block it. So when this is a 10/10, nothing less than 10 power can block it. So it's basically unblockable, because it says the Gnarlid gets +1/+1 for each aura on the battlefield, which seems pretty intense. This card could, depending on the number of auras inside this deck, this card could be sneaky strong. This would feel really bad to play and have to force your opponents to spend their removal on an Aura Gnarlid because he has a Virtuous token and is getting absolutely buffed by 1,000,000 and they can't block him. I like this card inside this deck. It's sneaky good. We have Celestial Archon, a flying 4/4 with first strike, or you can bestow it and turn it into an aura. In other words, and give another creature +4/+4 flying and first strike. If the creature that the Archon was attached to dies, the Archon then enters the battlefield as a creature. So these cards tend to be pretty cool and good after board wipes. Denitha Capashen Paragon. First strike, Vigilance, lifelink, or an equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna make everything cheaper to play. Destiny Spinner. Creature enchantment spells you control can't be countered. And then you can make a land in elemental with trample until the end of turn, where X is the number of enchantments you control. That ability can sneakily end games because you can pay 4 mana any amount of times for that ability. So you could be attacking with 3 or 4 lands at a time and can just knock somebody out of the game. We have Eidolon of Blossoms. Whenever another enchantment or Eidolon of Blossoms enter the battlefield, you're gonna draw a card. Cool. Eidolon of Countless Battles and enchanted creature each get +1/+1 for each creature you control and +1/+1 for each aura you control. And inside this deck, with the number of creatures you're making and then the number of auras you're gonna have potentially, this card seems super strong inside this deck, actually. Jukai Naturalist, which is going to make your enchantment spells cost 1 less to cast, which is cool. Ooh, Core Spirit Dancer. Whenever you're going to cast an aura, you may draw a card. The Core Spirit Dancer itself gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it, but I wouldn't really attach auras to my Spirit Dancer when I have cards like the Aura Gnarlid in my deck. I'd rather just use it on something else. We have a Paradise Druid, which is gonna have hexproof as long as it's untapped, and then you can tap it to add a mana of any color. Realm Cloaked Giant. This card's basically a board wipe, guys. You just pay the 5 mana to board wipe things. It is 7/7 with Vigilance if you cast it as a creature. Sanctum Weaver. Add X mana of any one color or X is the number of enchantments you control. It's a good card inside here. Setessan Champion. Whenever enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you put a counter on the champion. You're gonna draw a card, which is nice. Shalai, the Voice of Plenty. You, planeswalkers you control, and other creatures you control have hexproof. Nice, this card is super good. Siona, Captain of the Piles. I know a girl named Simona that plays Siona, which is kind of cool. When Siona, Captain of the Piles, enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal an aura card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. This card famously goes infinite with another card, and this is just a like if you want to build a commander deck outside of this deck with this card, that wouldn't be a bad idea if you were a new player. This is a very strong card, and by itself, Siona is a very strong commander. Starfield Mystic. Enchantment spells cost 1 less. Whenever enchantment you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a counter on a Starfield Mystic, which is not, you just want things to cost less. It's a good card. Sun Titan. Whenever Sun Titan enters the battlefield, you're going to get a permanent from the graveyard back onto the battlefield, but that permanent has to cost 3 or less. It's a good card inside this deck. I feel like Sun Titan is just generically good. Sylvan Ranger. When Sylvan Ranger enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, put it into your hand, and shuffle your library. I would take this card out of the deck. Sir Armont, the Redeemer. When the Redeemer enters the battlefield, create a monster roll token attached from the target creature you control. Enchanted creature you control get +1/+1. Ooh, this seems kind of whack. I mean, for 5 mana to get a 4/4 that gives all of your enchanted creatures just +1/+1, and you're only going to create a monster roll token for 1 creature, this seems like a really bad card. Tangle Span, Lookout. Whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. Fantastic card, really good card. I'm pretty sure this is a new card as well. That's pretty good. Tithe Taker. During your turn, spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast, and abilities your opponents activate cost 1 more to activate. Less demand abilities. This seems like a really random card inside this deck. I would probably take it out. Transcendent Envoy. Aura spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Fantastic in here. Umbra Mystic. Oh, this is a good reprint. Auras attached to permanents you control have totem armor. Probably the best card I've seen so far. This is, honestly guys, like, I wouldn't mind having, I'm gonna buy this commander deck because this card is inside the deck. I really like this card right here. This card is super good. This card is really good, guys. We have an austere command. Destroy all artifacts or destroy all enchantments, or destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 3 or less, or destroy all creatures with converted mana cost 4 or greater. You choose 2 of the things that I mentioned before. Austere command is a good card. Retether. Ouch, this is awesome. Return each aura from your graveyard to play. Only creatures can be enchanted this way. Cool. That rhymed. Rishkar's Expertise. Draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a spell with mana value 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Winds of Wrath. Destroy all creatures that aren't enchanted. They can't be regenerated. Cool. Is a one-sided board wipe essentially. Generous Gift. If the copy that we get is this full art foil version, that would be a generous gift. Destroy target permanent. That's just really good. Removal. We have Arcane Signet. Cool. Soul Ring, of course. Hey, we have the Ancestral Mask. You know, this is a card I was thinking about earlier. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each other enchantment in play. Poof! This card ends games, guys. That's such a good card inside here. Angelic Destiny. Enchanted creature gets +4/+4, has flying and first strike, and is an angel in addition to its other types. When enchanted creature dies, return Angelic Destiny to its owner's hand. Awesome. The Bear Umbra. Ho! Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has, whenever this creature attacks, untap all lands you control, and it has totem armor. Totem armor just basically means that if the creature is destroyed by some type of removal, you lose the enchantment instead of your creature. We have Careful Cultivation. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+3 and has reach, and you can tap it for 2 mana. or you can pay 2 mana and discard this to create a 1/1 green monk human creature token with tap to add a green. I think that's mostly what you're going to be doing when you use that card. I would take that card out of the deck. Daybreak Coronet, enchant creature with another aura attached to it. Okay, so it has to have an aura attached in order for you to use this. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and has first strike, vigilance, and lifelink. Good card. Enchantress's Presence. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, draw a card. Yeah. Ethereal Armor. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike for 1 mana. Yes. Fertile Ground. Whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds 1 mana of any color to his or her mana pool. Yep. Indomitable Might. Flash, so you can play this on your opponent's turn, and I recommend that you do. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3. Enchanted creature's controller may have it assign combat damage as though it weren't blocked. So this is a card that you wait for your opponents to attack into you, and then in response, you're going to say, I'm going to pay 4 mana. I'm going to play Indomitable Might. I'm going to block you with this creature that now just got +3/+3, and I most likely draw a card off of something in my deck that draws me a card, then I do this. It's a sneaky card. It's a good card. Kendrith's Transformation, 2 mana, enters the battlefield, you're going to draw a card. A creature is going to become a 3/3 elk, and it's going to lose all of its abilities. It's a good thing to put on your opponent's commander. We have Mantle of the Ancients. When the mantle enters the battlefield, return a number of target auras and or equipment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura and equipment attached to it. Nice. Pollen Bright Wings, enchant creature. Enchanted creature has flying. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green sapling creature tokens. Sage's Reverie. When Sage's Reverie enters the battlefield, draw a card for each aura you control. It's attached to a creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura you control. It's attached to a creature. Cool. Snake Umbra. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has whenever this creature deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Totem Armor as well. Nice. Spectral Steel. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. You can exile this from your graveyard and return another target or equipment card from the graveyard to your hand. Oh, I kind of like that actually. It's not bad. Timely Ward. Nice. You may cast this spell at flash speed if it targets your commander, which is great. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has indestructible. Nice. Utopia Sprawl. When Utopia Sprawl comes into play, choose a color. Whenever Enchanted Forest is tapped for mana, its controller adds 1 mana of the chosen color to his or her mana pool. That's a good card. Verdant Embrace. Enchanted creature gets +3/+3 and has at the beginning of each upkeep create a 1/1 green sapling creature token. Warbriar Blessing. Enchant creature you control. When Warbriar Blessing enters the battlefield, enchant creature fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Enchanted creature gets +0/+2. Yeah, that's a good way to remove things, I suppose, and get an aura into play to draw cards. Now let's look at the lands. We have a Canopy Vista. Nice. We have a Castle Ardenvale, which is going to create tokens for you. Command Tower. We got a bunch of forests over here. A Fortified Village, which is land that's good if you can reveal a forest or a plains. It enters the battlefield untapped. The Hall of Heliod's Generosity. Wow, I'm really going to buy this deck. This is a good card. You can pay 2 mana to put target enchantment card from your graveyard on the top of your library. Nice. That's a fantastic card. Prosin Verge. Alright, that's going to help you get some lands into play. Myriad Landscape. That's going to help you ramp. Sungrass Prairie is going to fix your mana. Temple of Plenty lets you scry. And then the City Tree. And then Vitugazi, the City Tree, is going to create some saprolings for you at some point during the game. You know, guys, I'm going to have to give this commander deck an 8 out of 10. I think that this commander deck is actually built extremely well. It's very focused, and I think that this deck would probably beat some of the Commander Masters commander decks. And even though those Commander Masters decks are probably 3 times the price of this commander deck, I just think that the synergies and the way that the deck goes, whenever you're playing enchantment-based commander decks, the synergies tend to work out really well. And because this deck focuses on making your creatures stronger, I mean, your commander essentially lets you buff your creatures by +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. And just by in this section right here alone, we have 19 enchantments, and there's so many enchantment creatures that we have over here as well. And you're going to be creating enchantments with Ellivere when she enters the battlefield. So there's going to be a lot of enchantments in play, and we're talking that, you know, you could have your Aura Gnarlid be an extremely powerful card on the battlefield. And when, you know, when you're playing a deck that's going to make a card like Aura Gnarlid a good card, you know that you're playing a strong commander deck. I'm not going to say that it's a 9, because to me there isn't like a card inside here that I look at and it's like, wow, like I have to buy this because that's a really good reprint. But I mean, cards like the Umbra Mystic that I saw earlier, the Hall of Heliod's Generosity over here as well, are definitely some cards that, like, if you're a brand new player and you're looking to start a Magic the Gathering collection, those are some cards that whenever you're looking to build an Enchantress or an enchantment type commander deck, you're always going to want those cards inside the deck because those cards are strong. So that's gonna be it for the video, guys. Remember about the giveaway that I was talking about earlier. When this channel receives 20,000 subscribers, we're gonna be giving away an entire commander deck for free. So if you would like the opportunity to win that commander deck, just make sure that you're subscribed and you hit the bell icon, so when the channel goes to 20,000 subscribers, you receive the notification for the giveaway being announced. And just so the channel gets to 20,000 faster, make sure you tell your friends so that you may be playing against one of the commander decks that we give away on this channel. Okay, always remember, everybody, eat healthy, okay, work out every single day, and most importantly, you guys got to remember to believe in yourself. All right, peace out, people.